to the Rik Fox Story. This is episode 12. Rik, as I was sharing with you before we went on the air, the last time we did one of these episodes was about February of this year, so it's been a while, and we wanted to catch up because quite a bit has gone on in your life. Now, let's start off with the latest. Just a few days ago, you played a gig with Stephen Pearcy. Talk a little bit about that and how that came about.
Okay, well, being that I live in Missouri, but I saw the Retromania advertising months and months ago, and I finally, after a matter of time, was able to find out who the promoter was, Donnie Frizzell, and I told him that Stephen had contacted me. What happened was I saw that they were coming to Missouri, so I said to Stephen, "Hey, I'm only about 2 hours away from Branson. Can I maybe be your guest or something? Drop in and say hi. We haven't seen each other since the '80s,
Sure. Yeah.
So Stephen says, yeah, sure, no problem. And then about 15 or 20 minutes later, he sends me another message. He says, hey, you want to jam? And I said, you mean like with you on stage with the band? He goes, yeah. I said, sure, okay, that'd be great, thank you. And he goes, learn you think you're tough. Okay. I said, all right. So I was pulling up their clips, their live clips on YouTube to watch the live performances, the latest possible one, so I could get an idea of their cues.
Yeah.
How they were doing the song live. And I workshopped, I woodshed it, I hear, and I practiced, learned the song. And then on my drive down there, Stephen calls me up. He says, hey, they're thinking of cutting our set time, so we might not be able to do that. And I said, I'm still heading down there anyway, like that. And he says, well, let's see what happens. And again, about 15, 20 minutes later, he calls me back while I'm driving, and he says, all right, we got it all set. It's cool. We can fit it in there. I said, all right, great. I'll see you when I get down there. So I arrived, I showed up. I just checked in at a hotel. Talk about timing. I walked to the elevator. I pushed a button. The door opens. Who is it? It's Donnie Frizzell, the promoter.
Wow.
Just happened to be there. Yeah. And so he handed me my artist credentials like that. And we talked briefly. And he says, hey, promise me no confrontations with Dana Strum. I don't know how he knew about that, but I said, okay. And we'll get to that.
Yeah.
I said, okay, we'll all be, professional about this. He goes, all right, thanks. And so I checked in all my stuff at the hotel. I walked over to the theater because it was like right across the driveway. Actually, I just drove right over. Yeah. And I saw Matt Thorne, and Matt and I are old friends from back in the day. Matt was in Sarge and Rough Cut. And I think he was in an early lineup of Ratt as well, an original lineup. So
I think Mickey Ratt,
Yeah. So Matt and I were talking, and we were catching up on stuff. And he says, yeah, he goes, I heard you play with us tonight. And I said, yeah, I hope so. Yeah. and Blast was sitting right there, setting up his drums. And Matt said, we haven't done Tough in a while. He goes, the last time we did it, we had a couple of hiccups, and I said, well, how long is Blast with the band? He goes, he's in 10 shows already. So, and Blast had his headphones on. So he was still listening to the song as well.
Wow.
And I said, I looked up at Blast, and Matt introduced us. I said, man, you're a friggin' legend. And I reached out my hand and shake it. I said, rub some of that legend off of my hand, would you please? Because I know he played with Slaughter.
Is that at all awkward? Or was he cool with you? Like,
yeah, oh, very, very. And Blast also plays with Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Very sure.
So that's a very big gig, for him. Yeah. And like that. And so I said to Matt, well, maybe we can do it during the sound check. And he goes, all right, we'll see what happens. Yeah, let's try that. And I sat out in the audience, and they were going through some stuff in the sound check, and they started to play You Think You're Tough. They got about 3/4 of the way through the song, and you can hear the guy from the soundboard going, all right, that's enough. We got it. So they cut it. Matt goes, I'm sorry, we weren't able to do it during the sound check. But I said, that's all right. No problem. So, the night goes on. Jesus Jones is playing. So I go to the dressing room. We're all hanging out. I met Eric Ferentinos, really nice guy. I met Johnny Monaco, nice guy like that. So now I know the whole. And Stephen was very gracious, very, very cool. And his lovely wife, Christy, there. She was very accommodating. It was great hospitality from them all. And we were, goofing around and stuff and talking about this, that, and the other in the dressing room. And so Stephen says, come on right after Way Cool Jr. He goes, then you're on. I said, all right. So they go out. They're on stage. I get changed. And then when Way Cool is on, I go out and I'm standing kind of like in the wings, just wait like that. And his tour manager, Jason Green, he's always videotaping.
Yeah.
It's always the tour diary.
Yeah.
like that. And so just as the song ended, I start to walk out, and he goes, "There's Rik Fox," and he's videotaping me as I walk out there. And Matt hands me the cord, and Stephen introduces me, brings me on, and we just launched right into it, and we nailed it. All the cues are right on. And Eric and I high-fived, and Steve will, like that, and I did the song, and the audience went, as they say, the crowd went wild. So that was it, and other musicians who I've come to meet, to know here in Missouri, either who had played the night before, like, the members from Dirty Saints, were there and videotaping and taking pictures. So it was kind of cool. It extended my 5 minutes of relevance, if you will.
Oh, there you go. Now, like you said, Stephen from way back in the day. Had it been a number of years since you and him had any communication, and was it just like old days? It's like no time.
Yeah, we have. Well, before I was in Steeler did shows with Ratt,
Sure.
And I don't know if they did any afterwards, but with Ratt. But I was in the band during that time when we didn't do shows with Ratt, but we all knew each other.
Sure.
Ratt, Motley Crue, and Steeler were three of the cornerstone bands in the metal bands in the LA music scene, Sunset Strip, and all of that. So, I was in good company, and it was great to see Stephen again. And it was a great time. We had fun, and just as I was going off the stage, Steve goes, "Appreciate it, Rik. Thank you very much." And it's up on YouTube right now. Kirsty uploaded it, so it's up there. And people are posting underneath going, "Who is the bass player? Looks like Nikki Sixx, or looks like Cheech and Chong." And other people go, "No, that's Rik Fox. That's Rik Fox." So that's very cool. So
reaction from the fans, because again, this isn't something that was known about, or you were gonna just kind of happened behind the scenes, and fans show up and Rik Fox up there jamming with the band.
Well, Stephen said, "Want to bring on a guest?" Rik Fox played the Sunset Strip scene with us. He was with Steeler. He was with Wasp. Blah blah blah, like that. So that everybody lit up right away when they heard Wasp. They don't know Steeler in Missouri, but they know Wasp. So that lit up, and everybody went crazy. The crowd was great. They're all yeah.
And you got quite an internet presence where you got enough of a fan base that people who ever name Rik Fox, they know it. Especially if you're
the singer from Machine Gun Symphony, Jay Stevens, he's also an on-air personality with 107 The Cave out of Springfield. Okay. So I says to him, him and his girlfriend Jordan were there. And I said, "You want to come backstage? I'll introduce you to some people." He goes, yeah, let's go. This guy knows more people than I do.
Yeah.
The entire backstage staff, the production crew, and production staff, everybody knew who he was. And so he wound up being my promotion guy. Yeah. And he's going, "Here's Rik Fox, and he played with this band and that band." He's pulling up pictures. There's Rik Fox with Ronnie Dio. There's Rik Fox with Sam Kinison. Yeah. So it was kind of funny. It was like a reverse promo thing. I'm going to introduce him to people, and his band's played Branson, so everybody knows him down there.
Wow.
He's like the local rock star.
Yeah.
And so now he was kind of like my cheering section, which was pretty cool. Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Like that, I occasionally jam with his band Machine Gun Symphony. They'll bring me up for a song or something. So
that's cool.
So I'm becoming more known in the music community in Missouri here. So that's kind of pretty cool.
And it seems like from what you're saying, the music scene there may not be as cutthroat as LA scene or even the New York scene.
It's not. It's not that. From what I've seen, it's not.
Yeah.
And there's that, for whatever the music scene is, it's not big enough to have a cutthroat kind of a thing like that. Everybody knows everybody. So
that's cool. And you mentioned Stephen's guitarist, Eric Ferentinos. I had a chance to interview him on my This Is Metal show. Super cool guy. And I don't know if you've heard the story, but actually how he hooked up with Stephen was Stephen moved, this was years ago, Stephen was his neighbor, moved next door to his mom and dad. And he mowed, he didn't even know who Stephen was. I guess Eric's parents, I think, were Ratt fans. And he had no idea who Stephen Pearcy was. And he started mowing his lawn and doing odd jobs for him. And then he happened to mention that, hey, I play guitar too. And Eric was quite a bit younger than Stephen, obviously, but he's been playing with him for the last 25 years, been his right-hand man and everything.
Yeah. I was sitting in the dressing room and I said to Eric, I said, "You know who the actor Tom Sizemore is?" He goes, "Oh yeah." I said he was, in a lot of movies, he plays in a war movies and stuff. And he says, "Yeah." I said, "There's a little bit of resemblance in the eyes." He goes, "Yeah, all right, I get that."
Yeah.
So, but he was the guys were great. Johnny was great, and Eric was great. I think maybe if I don't know if I'm interpreting this correctly, just a little feeling. of course, they didn't know what was going to happen because they don't know how if I knew the song well enough or not.
Yeah.
So everybody was kind of taking a little bit of a leap of faith and going, okay, cross our fingers and see what happens here. And I walked out and I fucking, they nailed it, and they were all happy. I think they were surprised, So, but afterwards it was all, pats on the back and shaking hands and all of that. So it was pretty cool. It's a great experience all around.
People may be surprised to learn this. In a past interview, Rik, you revealed to me that while Juan Procier ended up getting the gig, before he landed the gig, that you actually had the chance to go down and audition for Ratt.
I reminded Stephen of that. I said, do you remember in Culver City, I came down and auditioned for you guys? I said, I was under the impression it was your grandmother's garage. He goes, no, that was a friend of ours. And we would rehearse in their garage. And it was just before, Juan Crucier got the gig.
Yeah.
Like that. So I think the guy they had, his name was Gene. He was the bass player before that. Because I saw him played at the Whiskey and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I said, yeah, you remember when I auditioned for you guys? He goes, yeah. I said, I still have the original cassette you gave me of all the songs, but with no vocals on them. So that's still in my collection. So he goes, oh yeah, that's right, you did audition for us. So he remembered that.
It was a pretty nice update so far, Rik. That's why I reached out to you the other day and wanted to do another one of these episodes with all the stuff going on. And then also, what really kind of got my attention was the longstanding feud between you and Dana Strub. You there's a picture up on your site of you and him hugging, and you explained that we patched up our differences. I mean, nobody really saw that coming. And how good does that feel to kind of be able to put that in the past?
Dum 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 dum. In the aftermath, I got to say, I was thinking about it quite a bit, and I said, it feels good. Yeah. It feels like a weight has been lifted off of both of our shoulders.
Sure.
I was sitting backstage on Friday during Vince Neil's band sound check, and Vince wasn't there. It was just the band.
Yeah.
And Dana come over and he goes, "Are you Rik Fox?" And I looked at him. I said, "You tell me." Like that. He goes, "I saw you in the hotel," and I'm like, "It looks like Rik Fox, but I'm not sure. We haven't seen each other in decades." Yeah. And we had a light banter conversation of things, kind of loosely catching up on stuff. Yeah. And he goes, what are you doing here? And I said, I played last night with Stephen Pearcy Band. He goes, oh, very good. And I said, hey, bass player, if you have time, can you walk me through your rig? He goes, oh yeah, come on over. And then he showed, all the amps in the house were rented from a big music company. So all the back line was rented. I know about the drums, but here's my amp heads, and here's my wireless setup, and here's my bass, and here's the kind of strings I use, and here's the pickup. So we talked shop like that. And then what happened after that was we started to loosely glaze the surface of the Vinnie Vincent issue.
Yeah.
And he says, come on, like that. And we went in the dressing room. And I said, because he produced my band Sin.
Sure.
And I said, I have 3 of the 4 songs we did at home. I don't have Don't Say Goodbye. He goes, come here. He gets, get Rik a chair. So we're sitting there. He opens up his laptop.
Wow.
And he has the file of our songs in his laptop. He says, I was afraid of the day if the cassette would ever break. I would have no copy of it. So there's the file. He says, give me your email address. And he set it up, he put it on a WE file, and he emailed it to me. And the thing is, you have to get to it within a certain amount of days, otherwise it expires.
Yeah.
So when I got home, by the time I got on my computer and opened it up, it expired. So I sent him an email. It was yesterday, and I said, Dana, the file expired. Can you send it again? But as we were talking about that, the whole thing came up about things I had said and things that he had said, and then he explained to me the entire, as I said, I got Bobby Rock's book.
Yeah.
He said, Bobby admits, he says, Dana and Vinny took the song from a band called Sin that Dana was produced. I said, Bobby validated it. It's in his book.
Yeah.
And he told me the whole story about it. And essentially Vinny didn't have any amps at the time when they were getting ready to do their album. And they were looking for various amp sounds for Vinny. Dana goes, well, I got this band Sin, and I produced their demo. You got to hear the guitar sounds. Their amp, they're using Randall's. He goes, the amp's incredible. So he's playing our stuff for Vinny. He goes, hear how great these guitar amps sound. And Vinny's going, I like the song. I like that song.
Yeah.
No, and that's how Vinny coerced himself and took the hook from our song On the Run and turned it into Let Freedom Rock.
Yeah, yeah.
But I subsequently found out that, I don't need to really go on and on about Vinny because he's got a bad reputation as it is in the business. And it's just essentially, it was a toxic situation, and anything that came into contact with him was affected by it.
I mean, it still is. All these years later.
Yeah. So everybody involved was hurt.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of mistreatment to Mark Slaughter.
Yeah.
Verbal abuse and things like that that I won't go into. But
Dana
gets on the phone. He goes, "Guess who I ran into here in Missouri?" And he's like, "Oh," he goes, "You remember that band you sang the tracking vocals on?" He goes, "Sin." He goes, "Rik Fox is there?" He goes, "Yeah, we had a long talk. It's all taken care of now." So, I said to Dana, "Well, I guess we're at that point now where I guess we can mend the bridge and take a ride over it together." He goes, "Absolutely." And I said, "I have 2 words for you." And he goes, "What's that?" I reached my hand out to shake. He puts his hand, shakes my hand. I said, "Shalom Aleichem," because Dana's Jewish. So, and I gave him that, and he appreciated that. And he says, we were there for about an hour.
Wow.
And his time is valuable because he handles all the business and everything. So it was very generous of him to do that. So we got up. He goes, "Come on, let's go to the hospitality room." So we go to the hospitality room. We sit down to eat lunch, and the head of security comes and sits with us. And they had a quick meeting about security, for Vince, because there's crazy people out there who do stupid things in concerts. So they arranged to make sure all the security was updated, and then we had to update everybody's passes with this little yellow dot on it.
Wow.
See that?
Yeah.
Because the night before it was just a plain pass, but now the next night, anybody backstage had to have either a dot or a star on their passes. So like that, it was an updated thing. So. But I got to tell you, Lou Graham was fantastic. Night Ranger kicked ass.
Wow.
Quiet Riot, they blew the doors down, and Jizzy Pearl was great. Rudy was great. Alex was great. They were all great. And then Vince Neil, they rocked the house. Vince, for what people are saying about him, he looked great. It looks like he lost a little bit of weight.
Yeah.
Wasn't maybe fighting shape, but he looked good. He sang great, and they had monitors, teleprompters. Vince didn't even look at them all night. I think very briefly on one song, he just went like that, and that was it. He didn't even use the teleprompters. So it was a great show. Everybody brought the house down. Andy Dick was there doing his own film crew. So we ran into him a few times. Johnny V, Friday Night Fights people, the actor who plays the Black Panther in the Marvel Comics universe.
Okay, yeah.
Rashid Hakim, I think, or Hakim Rashid.
Okay.
He was there.
Yeah.
And so it was a little mixture of all kinds of things. So it was an interesting event. And they said they're going to do it again next year, but they're going to move it over from the Mansion Theater to the Star Celebrity Theater.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So
I know Motley Crue just came out with a cover of the Beastie Boys' "Fight for Your Right to Party." Pretty good if you haven't had a chance.
I haven't heard that one yet, but yeah.
Yeah,
So it was good. The whole experience in Branson was really good. I needed it. People said, you deserve that. So good for you. And it's nice to see you in your element again. Nice to see Rik Fox kicking ass on a big stage like that. And it felt good. The drive home felt good. And it relieves a lot of stress.
That's great to hear. I mean, that's one to put in the books. As far as you and Dana making up, that's cool. And probably it happened a lot easier than you always thought. Oh man, if I ever run into that guy, and it wasn't even like that.
Jason, I said it's inevitable at some point in time in the future. Dana and I are going to be in the same room together, and I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Because I told Dana, I said, listen, I said things, you said things. You have to understand, if you look at it from my point of view, I was hurt.
Yeah,
I was really hurt. It was like a betrayal of trust, a betrayal of everything. Working with us as a producer, and we were part of a stable of bands that Dana produced. It was a Rated X, Sweet Savage out of Texas, Burn, who I played with. There was a whole bunch of us that Dana was producing, and so I said, I said some things, and I take them back. I apologize for him. So
Well, it sounds like you both did, so that's cool. Now,
I said, can we take a picture? He goes, oh yeah. He goes, let's do it later when I got my hair down, so I don't look like a real estate agent.
yeah, yeah,
And then so when we took the picture backstage, standing there, I said, let's do one shaking hands. I said, the folks back home ain't gonna believe this.
I
So
mean,
for all the years,
Yeah.
for all the years of this feud between us, like that. And so we took absolutely, we took a picture, we're all shaking hands like that, and like that. So it felt great.
I bet when
It
you
felt
posted
great.
that photo, like the reaction must have. I mean, you must have got a bunch of likes and.
A lot of people went, like the French Knights in Monty Python and the Holy Grail, when they got the wooden rabbit coming up the hill, and the French Knight can't believe what he sees. So the reaction is kind of like,
wow,
yeah,
yeah.
What? Rik and Dana shaking hands. Oh my God. It's like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, hell froze over. I hate to bring it down, but I got to ask because I know you and Jack Russell were such good friends. When the news broke about his death, I wasn't totally surprised because but everything kind of happened. His book comes out. He announced his retirement. Book comes out, and then the death. I think it's been coming for a while. But talk to people about your friendship with Jack. Because I know it was a long-standing friendship.
Well, Jack is the indirect reason I met my late wife.
Wow.
Because they were playing at some club called Roxanne's up in the mountain area, but in Los Angeles, outside of Los Angeles. And Jack began a conversation with her, and she didn't know who he was. And he says, "I'm Jack Russell." And she's like, "Yeah, and." Because she wasn't impressed by the guys in the bands, and she knows guys in bands try to pick up the girls, so she was hip to that. And he says, "Well, my band's Great White. We're playing at the Troubadour next week. Would you come and see us?" And she says, "Put me on the list. I'll come." And he did. He put her on the list. I happened to walk into the Troubadour at that intermission, as I told the story, and the crowd just kind of parted for a second. And as I walked in, Tara's walking up on my right, and I looked over and hi, and I kept walking. And she had validated this many times, and even to her girlfriend. She said, "That's him." Who? That guy right there with the black hair. What about him? She goes, "That's the guy I'm going to marry." Wow. And they're like, "You're nuts. You're out of your mind." And she goes, "No, that's well." Long story short, we became friends, dated loosely through the 80s, nothing serious, not until 2000.
Wow.
When she came back into my life, and she had been with me. We've been together from 2000 until the day she passed in 2022.
Oh, wow.
We're with each other, 30 years. Yeah. Married for 22, but together for like 30.
Wow.
And when she passed, Jack was one of the 3 people who called to offer their condolences. Jack was one, Ron Keel was the other, and Chris Holmes and his wife Kathy called me from France. Wow. And they all offered their condolences. But Jack was, and Jack remembered that. At one point he invited us to his boat because I had a leather trench coat that he had his eyes on since the 80s. And I said, "If you're still interested, it's yours." Yeah. So Jack invited us to his boat. We had a barbecue. I gave him the leather trench coat. He put it on. He looked at his eyes, started watering up, and he gave me this big hug, which I posted the pictures of. And he's like, "Yeah, I got the leather jacket." It felt really good. It felt good to give him it was an expensive, custom designed leather trench coat. It was a one of a kind.
Wow.
I gave it to him. Star goes, give it to him. So I gave it to him. And it felt good, and he felt good. So it was a little more bonding again with Jack, after all the years like that. And so I'll always credit Jack for being responsible for but making it possible for Tara and I to meet.
Wow. Yeah.
And then we had our life from there on. And Jack, and she was friends with Jack all this while too.
That's amazing. And wow. And I don't know if you had a chance to get Jack's book. It's a great read. I got it, and reading it and coming through. But one thing I never knew that the original Lost drummer Tony Richards was also in Great White, and he says in the book how
Dante Fox. It was Dante Fox.
Dante Fox, and he was saying how at the time, and I'm thinking Tony Orlando. His original, I guess, his birth name is Tony Orlando, and he told him, "No, you're not going to call yourself Tony Orlando. I give you the name Tony Richards."
Yeah. Well, at the time, Tony was with Dante Fox. Gary Holland was with Blackie and Sister.
Oh,
And right as I landed in LA, they had swapped drummers, and Gary
wow.
Holland went to play with Dante Fox. Tony Came Richards came to play with Sister,
Yeah.
and then I was in the band. And then about a month and a half after being in Sister, this is when I came up with the name Wasp, and
Yeah.
that's how where Wasp was born. So that's our little other side
Connection.
conversation with that. But that was, yeah, and also the last time I saw Jack was in 2000. It was June 2001. Tara and I just got here to Missouri in like February, March, and Ron Keel was playing in Kansas City with Jack Russell's Great White.
Wow.
So Tara goes, let's go see Ron. So I said to Ron, I said, we're down here, Europe and Kansas City. I said, you mind if we come up to the show? He goes, come on up, we'll do a song. And we took the 4-hour drive up to Kansas City, and we were there in time for the meet and greet. And Tara and Ron's wife Renee took pictures of me and Jack and Ron all sitting together at the meet and greet.
Wow.
And that was the last time we saw each other. Well, at least Jack, we saw each other.
Yeah,
he did a show.
That's pretty amazing. And you want to, before we wrap it up for today, Rik, you want to talk a little bit about the Keel World album and let people know what tracks you play on?
All right, so the Keel World album Ron just put out, it's the album of a lifetime, because it's all these bands through Ron's lifespan that he's played in. So he sent me some tracks, or track for the song "Give Me Guitars and Give Me Death." He goes, write your bass line. So I worked with it. I wrote my bass line, and I sent it back to him and recorded here in West Plains in Missouri at the Doug Harris Audio. And everybody put their piece on. Dwayne Miller played drums. Mitch Perry played guitar, like that. And then the album is out. It's available for sale. But what we did is we shot a video for it in LA at the last weekend of June. David Pear, who's a renowned director and videographer, he travels on tour with Dead Daisies. He does all their video stuff. Oh, sure. So David came in, and a budget was arranged, and David came in, and we shot this video at Center Stage Studios in Burbank. It was almost like a military operation. We came out on Friday, shot a little bit, shot Saturday, shot some stuff on Sunday, and out, and we're done over the weekend, like that. And so we walked around the Whiskey and the Roxy and the Rainbow and the clubs we had played at. Like there's going to be a Steeler documentary involved with this, and it's going to be quite intensive. And we stayed at the Chateau Marmont Hotel.
Wow.
And what we did was we were replicating photos in the same locations in the hotel that Led Zeppelin did in the 70s.
Wow.
So there's a picture of us by the fountain. There's a picture of us upstairs at a balcony, this, that, and the other. So we were just kind of, replicating the Led Zeppelin photos like that. And Mark Edwards, God bless him, he learned the song physically, was able to play the drums. Wow. And Mark Edwards is in the video, which is fantastic. We sat there going, watching. He's nailing it, and he hasn't been able to play drums in decades.
So was it a matter of him just kind of messing around? Oh, wow, I can do this, or had he been practicing at all?
Well, I mean, it does take a certain amount of physicality, even if you're miming to a previously recorded track. I mean, look at Mark Slaughter. He was miming to Robert Fleischman and Boys Are Gonna Rock. That's no big deal. A lot of people, that's how it's done. You mime to somebody else's track, like that. And so, of course, we mime to our own track. And it was very physically demanding, a lot of action, and my back was killing me the whole time I was there. I'm 67. I'm trying to do what I did when I was 27.
You look good for
you. So, and that was so that's the Keel World thing that we did. Yeah, and as you know, I'm in the American Hair Metal Can't Get Enough book by Stephen Blush and Tony Mann. So that's also being celebrated. So, it's like, Jason, since we talked, everything kind of like leveled down a little bit. And now all of a sudden there's like there's this, all these things happening, which completely puts in the dust the other project, I was working on. I did the 2 videos for.
I started doing these interviews with you because, first I was amazed just going on the Wikipedia and reading what you had done. And that's exactly what it is, a Rik Fox story, because there's these little periods where you're not doing music, you get in the movie business for a while, doing different things. You come back to music, and the story is ongoing. Little things happen. Career takes a dip, but you never totally went away.
Yeah, and each one is a blessing, you know, Jason.
Yeah.
Every day is a gift,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. And as I sit here and I still in the grieving process with my wife, and
Sure.
she's not here, and I'm alone, but you know, and then something, I don't want to say it, not distracts me, but will take my interest, and it's something career related, you know,
Yeah.
or music related that I need to put my attention to. And that will take my attention a little bit temporarily off of the grieving thing. So then I'm concentrating on working on the music project. And then after that, another thing will come along. And after that, another. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a string of all of these dots of
Yeah.
being connected, of stuff happening. Now, the idea is to keep that energy going, to keep
Yeah.
things coming in,
Sure.
because generally when bands put themselves together, I'm not high up on their radar when they're looking for bass players.
Yeah.
Hopefully that will change now. I've got, you know, the videos up on YouTube, you know, oh, there's a calling card. Okay, we can see he's capable of this, that, and the other, whatever, you
Yeah.
know. So if somebody of that caliber comes along and says, hey, listen, we got a bass slot open, you available? You know, and there's a door. We're waiting for that door to show up and be open.
Yeah. I was curious, you know, because of your connection with Was, I was curious if over the years you'd ever met Steve Riley.
We did a segment on Steve Riley some months ago.
I go back and
after he passed. Yeah, Steve and I were friends. You know, I met him when he first got to LA, and he was playing with Keel before he was in LA Guns.
Yeah.
And I knew that he played in Steppenwolf. I know he played in Empire with Mickey Jones from Angel and Mickey Frey and those guys, Pete Comita. And I know he played in not REO Speedwagon. I was at Roadmaster. He was in Roadmaster. So I knew about his background, and that blew him away. Like, how do you know all this stuff? I said, I'm a fan. I'm just as much a fan as I am a performer and a player. You know, there's bands that I followed for years. So Steve and I hit it off right away. And, you know, he eventually got the gig with Wasp. He had got the gig with LA Guns, and we remained friends through that whole period. You know, and he before they got Johnny Rod in Wasp, Steve told me, he came over to my apartment one day, and he goes, I suggested your name. I knew you as a bass player, and you were good, so I suggested you to Blackie. And Blackie goes, no, I don't want that guy in a band. He didn't know that I was already in the original lineup. He didn't
know the history. Wow.
So he gave me some little background dirt on what it was like dealing with Blackie. So and none of it good.
Yeah, that's fine. You know, the last thing kind of touch upon is I know that you also knew Eric Carr, and you know, talk a little about what a great guy he was. I mean, I didn't know him personally, but even as a fan, I mean, if you look at what he did in that "God Gave Rock and Roll to You" video, very last thing he did, people didn't know at the time he was very sick. He showed up big, but I've heard Bruce tell the story. He wanted to be there. He played his heart out. That was the very last thing he ever did with Kiss, and you can kind of see it when you watch the video.
Well, you know, I met him back outside behind the Palladium in New York City when he was going to get ready to do his first show with Kiss in 1980. And his character was still a hawk, I guess. And my friend Randy was sitting there. Randy Paul was sitting on the car with Eric. And he goes, oh, this is my friend Rik Fox. And Eric looks at me, shakes my hand, and goes, Rik Fox. Fox. He goes, what a cool name. Well, several nights later, what is his character? A fox.
Oh, I never knew that.
So I when I saw him in LA, when we were seeing the original lineup of Steeler at the Roxy, Eric and I, and I asked, I said, is that where you get your character from? He looked at me, he just kind of like gave me that little twinkle in his eye. He kind of nodded a little bit like that. So he kind of validated that that's where he got the character from, was from my name.
You know, as a Kiss fan, that's something I never even heard. So that's great to.
It's not common knowledge. You know, and then he asked me if I had dated this girl Bambi, who was the model on the cover of the Poison album, Open Up and Say Ah.
Oh, okay.
And I said, you see how these dots connect? And I said, yeah, we dated loosely. He goes, can you introduce me to her? I said, sure. And I hooked them two up.
Wow.
So they became an item. So
that's another funny thing I could never understand. Talking about that album, Open Up and Say Ah, the big controversy about the tongue and having to alter the album cover.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but before we run, I need to get this in there. The latest project I'm working on, or have worked on. There's an all-star project with an artist named Stian Pion Thorsen, out of Norway. He's been doing this now for several years. He's got this huge stable of A-list, top-of-the-line recording artists on this project, and you can look StianPionThorsen.com. And he's Bruce Kulick. You mentioned Bruce is on that. There's a whole bunch. Mark, the song that I'm on has Mark Bowles singing from Malmsteen. He's with Red Raven.
Wow.
See, so Mark and I are both on this song, but the third feather in my cap for this is it's the third song I've recorded with Vinny Appice on drums. So I'm really proud of that. Yeah.
Hey, Rik, this is a great place to kind of end this, but do you think that we could get that guy to come on with you to talk about the project for a future?
I'll gladly mention it to him if you can. We can coordinate the three of us because he's in Europe, so the time difference.
Well, we could do it on a Saturday or something, you know, or whatever works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he told me that so far the song just needs to be mixed and mastered, and he's going to release it.
Okay. Well, let him know if he's looking for some free PR. I'm willing to help out.
I'll tell him that. I'll tell him. The song is called Plum, and it's a tribute to Deep Purple. And as you know, I played in the Deep Purple tribute band in Hollywood before I came to Missouri.
Wow.
And so the two key words in the chorus is cobalt and magenta. He says when you mix those two elements, you get a deep purple. That's why the song is called Plum. And all the song lyrics are Deep Purple song titles woven together to make one song. So it's a very clever and interesting concept. And I was very, happy and privileged and honored to be part of it.
I bet you were. Well, Rik, it's great catching up with you. This will be going up sometime next week. I'll let you know once I have a date, but thanks for doing this. It's great catching up.
Well, thanks for having me, Jason. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye, my friend.
All right. See ya.